I got a question for you. What would you do if you were wearing a hair clip while driving? Sounds strange. Just 10 years ago, Inside Edition did a report on these hair claw clips while driving. That's another term for it. DWHC, driving while hair claws. Take a look.
This teenager is holding a wildly popular hair accessory, a claw clip, and you won't believe how it ended up injuring her. Here's Allison Hall. Women have come to depend on this little claw clip to keep their hair in place. All you have to do is put your hair up like this, and you're ready to hit the road. One small problem: the sharp teeth can be dangerous if you get into an accident. 18-year-old Paisley Riley was riding in an all-terrain vehicle when it flipped over. She was wearing this clip when she hit her head. Paisley was rushed to the hospital. You can see her hair is a tangled, bloodied mess, and the gash is really nasty. With the help of her mom, she showed me the 5 staples still in her scalp. Would you ever have thought that something like this could happen with a hair clip?
Never. Never. And I wear hair clips all the time.
A similar accident happened to this woman. You can see her terrible injuries. Paisley posted her story to TikTok, and it's gotten 58 million views, prompting a slew of warnings.
These can literally go inside of your head.
This is your reminder to take your claw clip out before you start driving.
Audra Fordham runs an auto shop in New York. What's her advice?
And put it on the top of your head so that your hair and your hair clip does not make contact with your headrest.
Important safety tips. That's for all women out there. Ain't no need to fill in some common sense. The common sense, you don't need to want a common sense alert. We've already got the common sense from these TikTok viewers. Here's a question for you. Do you have any plans for Easter? Well, if you're running out of Easter plans, we're going to throw in some Easter ideas. And we're going to choose one because here are the 22 amazing Easter ideas for you guys to do in case you're ever bored during Easter. From creativechild.com. These are for the kids. First, you can make some jelly bean necklaces. You can have candy cane popcorn, sheep egg holders, paper flower eggs. You can make some egg candles. You can have some Peeps cupcakes. You can make a bunny paper plate out of paper plates or plastic plates. You can make some race car treats out of Easter bunnies. Almond chicks. Bunny bread. You can do the Simon Says Easter egg game. You can make Rice Krispie Pops. Bread bunnies. Simple sun catchers. Decorated cookies. Egg toss activity. Bunny in the dirt cups. Bunny toss. Egg garland. Egg games. Strawberry carrots. And magic balloon treats. These are just some of the ideas and recipes that you can do for this Easter 2023. Now, what about at home? Here are 7 fun Easter activities that you can do at home if you're bored. Do an Easter egg hunt, egg and spoon race. You can bake hot cross buns, Easter bonnet parade, a jelly bean, decorate Easter tree, enjoy some Easter crafts. I mean, just for the kids. For the teens, however, It's the Easter basket days. They probably just aren't candy. Like DVDs, books, DVDs, bubbles, carrots, socks, harmonicas, sand toys, sidewalk chalk, jumbo crowns. The list just goes on. Pajamas. I mean, you can just make Easter baskets probably out of anything. How about for your church? Your church. There's some 19 Easter service ideas for your church to do. You can set up a landing page, create an Easter hashtag, you can digital advertising. Just to name a few. You can also that's just to name a few. And if you have some Easter ideas, we're not going to do an Easter special here, but those are just some of the ideas I can give to you on this year's Easter. When we come back, if Bambi isn't the killer, who killed this man? And why didn't police follow the proper motive? Bambi's going to finish her side of the story with Diane Sawyer next. Stay with us. Yesterday, I brought you the story of this woman. Her name is Lori Bembenek. People call her Bambi. She was arrested and sentenced to life in prison for a murder that happened. Digging into details, digging into what happened during that time. But at the trial, they figured it was a mistrial. Now she's sentenced to life in prison. And now you're going to be hearing more sides of the tale. Her escape and how she can get men to do whatever she wants. Once again, here's Diane Sawyer. The conclusion to our story.
The 9 o'clock nightly news.
It's been nearly 24 hours since Laurencia Bembenek slipped through the hands of the law into freedom.
The Bulletin sent Milwaukee into a complete spin. After 8 years in prison, Laurencia Bembenek was making a race for freedom.
Run, Bambi, run.
There were bumper stickers everywhere saying, "Run, Bambi, run." People even wore masks of her face to throw off the police.
She has not had a fair trial.
I believe that she's innocent. She just didn't do it.
And someone even made her a $500 wedding dress because she'd not only escaped to freedom, she'd escaped to love.
I was so desperate that even one night of freedom to me was worth it. Even one night.
You managed to get at an 8-inch opening in the window in the laundry?
That's a lie. It was a regular window. I'm not that skinny.
And he was waiting on the other side.
He is Dominic Gugliotta, a factory supervisor who had never been arrested before. He saw Bembenek in a prison visiting room, and 9 months later, in July 1990, agreed to help her with the great escape.
And what did you say to yourself? Did you say, "Am I crazy"?
I can think of better words, but crazy's good.
I told him basically what to expect. These are the consequences of our actions. And he said, "I don't care. I love you."
People portrayed it all as a Bonnie and Clyde adventure.
I'd like to think of it as a Romeo and Juliet.
But was Laurencia Bembenek really Juliet or Lady Macbeth? Was she the prototype for Sharon Stone in Basic Instinct? Or was she the victim of people with secrets to hide? Perhaps even the Milwaukee cops. Remember the photographs Bembenek turned in of that nude dancing in the park? Photographs taken at a picnic sponsored by a Milwaukee bar called Tracks. Well, source after source told us that the drunken dancing was only the tip of the Tracks iceberg. The real story was that the bar was a place where cops indulged themselves with women and mingled with robbers.
The cops were attending drug parties. There was some fencing of stolen goods, some fencing of cop guns. There was a lot of gambling going on, crap schemes. there were so many cops involved that everybody felt real safe.
Unless, of course, that safety was threatened by something which launched an all-out investigation. For instance, something to do with the man in this photograph. Lori Bembenek didn't know that one of those nude revelers captured on film was the man she had married, Fred Schultz, a regular at Trax.
He was a real loud partier. He was an alcoholic. I saw him taking pills a few times. He had a real bad personality change when he got drunk. He got real violent, obnoxious, and loud.
Fred Schultz, a man involved at Trax, and a man who by several accounts deeply resented his ex-wife.
I heard him complain about the money they gave to pay family, and the fact that she got the house.
Christine was afraid of threats by Freddie Schultz, her former husband.
This is Christine Schultz's lawyer, Eugene Kershak, who told the police immediately after the murder that his client had worried aloud about her ex-husband, something the jury would never hear.
She started crying and said, "I'm worried about my life." And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "My husband, Freddie Schultz, has threatened my life."
Despite all this, one person was given immunity in the case of Christine Schultz. Only one.
Why was Fred Schultz given immunity?
He was basically didn't cooperate with the prosecution of the case, and he was given immunity. Okay? That's a decision that was made. It's been done before. That happens, okay? He was looked at, there was no evidence pointing to him.
What about the fact that Christine Schultz apparently felt that she had to worry about him? Her lawyer said that her last words were about fear of him.
Being afraid of something, you know what I mean? What does that show? Okay, Fred Schultz didn't commit the murder.
And after all, hadn't Fred Schultz been right there during the trial, weeping for his beloved wife in the courtroom, and promising,
"I'll wait for her forever. I don't care if it'll take 15 years. I'll wait for her." This is what he was saying to the press.
He kept saying that he loved Lori so much. And yet, like 4 hours after she was incarcerated, he was out dating other women.
Bembenek's mother, Virginia, says Schultz sponged off her, even writing her bad checks, before, 3 months later, his eternal devotion to Lori ended.
He sent you a farewell note? "Dear Laurencia, goodbye, good luck, Fred." Yeah. That's the last you heard? Yeah.
And eventually, Fred Schultz even showed up on television, declaring that his wife was guilty after all.
She marched across the hallway, put the gun in Christine's back, and pulled the trigger. And that's a fact.
And sitting there with him, also proclaiming her guilt, Bembenek's own lawyer, Donald Eisenberg. Bembenek's parents say they have now learned that they weren't the only ones paying Eisenberg. Someone else was secretly paying him too, they say. Fred Schultz.
Do you think he was behind it? Well, yeah. It seems very probable to me that he hired someone. You think in your heart that your husband hired someone to kill his ex-wife and then let it depend on you. Well, there is no other explanation.
Buddies. Definitely buddies, not just associates. They were friends.
Enter the most mysterious character in the plot. Fred Horenberger, friend of Fred Schultz, frequenter of Trax Bar, convicted felon, armed robber, alleged drug dealer. Tom Eckert, who has a long criminal record of his own, was once an accomplice of Horenberger, and says his friend had an unmistakable method of operation.
Fred Horenberger was known to do armed robberies with using army clothes as a disguise. And he would use a red bandana across his face, and usually some kind of hat or a wig or something.
A wig?
Yeah.
What kind of wig?
I don't really recall. In other words, he would go with a full disguise.
And you know these things for a fact?
Yes.
You were there?
Yes.
How big was Fred Horenberger?
He was a weightlifter, and he was into physical fitness.
A large hand?
A large hand, yes.
Remember what that little boy, Sean, said at the trial, that the killer was definitely a big man.
How big is your hand? Let me see. Put up yours if you want. Mine's bigger.
And since the trial, 8 witnesses have come forward to say the night of the murder, they saw a man in a green jacket wandering the neighborhood. Not only that, a month after the murder, according to this police report, something eerily similar happened again. Some of Hornberger's henchmen, one with a green jacket and ponytail, tried to rob a woman they all knew. A woman supposed to be hiding thousands of dollars worth of drugs and cash. You'll remember her. She was that star witness, Judy Zess. Down in Texas, when we asked her about all this, she said to us, "What do you guys want me to do, confess?" After 5 blanking years, pardon my French, everyone says, "Oh yeah, I think that Zess girl did it." So Judy Zess denies it, and Fred Hornberger denied it too, before he committed suicide in November 1991. And when we went to talk with Fred Schultz about all this, we had to track him down. He's left the police force and is now living in Florida, in a house with a pool and a nice car out front. We saw someone in the dining room when we were approaching, but he refused to open the door, and then turned out the German Shepherds.
I've never seen enough proof or even anything would show that there were other people involved. I mean, there just wasn't. Okay? You'll never know for sure. God knows for sure.
Even so, a special prosecutor has now been appointed to start investigating the role of the Milwaukee police in the conviction of Lori Bembenek.
Is there a lot on the line in this case? And in making sure this conviction sticks?
No. I haven't asked that, but there's nothing on the line.
Unless, of course, you're the woman and the lover who made that escape into Canada 2 years ago.
Just the ecstasy of real simple things like petting an animal and walking around at night looking at the stars. Do you feel like a romantic or a chump?
I don't think I like your choice of words. See that? It's a line that she drew because we're both Leos. And her name. I had that put in on Valentine's Day. What a guy that didn't care to do that.
But after 3 months of freedom, in October 1990, the television show America's Most Wanted published their photographs, and someone turned the fugitives in.
And what, you heard a knock at the door? They burst through. They had faxed a photo of me and Nick. The cop looked at me, he laughed, he said, "Run, Bambi, run." I said, "Oh, God."
And now, in just a few days, the woman called Bambi will go back to Wisconsin to learn if she'll ever see freedom again.
On good days, I feel like I have a lot of support. On bad days, I feel real persecuted. It's been difficult,
And a few final footnotes. Lori Bembenek will be turned over by Canada to the U.S. Marshal and extradited to the United States over this coming weekend. As we said, there is an investigation which could affect whether she gets a retrial, and the results of that investigation will be released early this summer. And what about Dominic Gugliotta? He's out of jail now and has plans to write a book and do the talk show circuit. As far as Fred Schultz goes, he still denies all of the involvement that people have alleged that he had in the murder.
So do we know who killed her? Nobody knows. There's more updates in this case. I'm going to find some updates right now. And when we return, once I find those updates, just 12 years ago, she died with cancer. And 2 years ago, back in 1992, when she was freed, she celebrates her family at home. Let me play you that.
And it is an honor and a pleasure to have worked with all of you to see this day and to see your folks today and to see you today is a treat. Here's to you all.
Here.
Yeah, I've been in solitary confinement for 7 months. I'm just a tad overwhelmed.
Well, okay, but you can, we don't go
Rehabilitation.
No. Don't put pressure on her. Now, witty, insightful. No, not you. Okay.
No, I can't say enough. I just wanted to thank everybody, and everyone that helped will go down in history as people that reunited me with my family. So it's been over 10 years, and this will be the first Christmas that my mom will put up a Christmas tree. So Merry Christmas to everyone.
I just don't believe it yet. That's, it hasn't sunk in. I feel like I'll wake up and it'll be all gone,
I just look at you though, there's life in it. Oh, it's so good to see you.
Oh man. I just keep looking at her and thinking, she's there. She's here in the free world, with us. With us in the free world. That's where she belongs. That's right.
Sorry it took so long to get here, but she was.
Oh, you want?
Well, that was that. As for her, well, she died back in 2010. The cause of death? Organ from liver and kidney failure. That was the cause of death. Coming up next, during the Los Angeles riots, a lot of people were stealing homes. We're going to talk to you about home equity fraud when we return. Stay with us. What you're about to see may affect you in every state. And it happened in Los Angeles during the riots back in 1992. It is called home equity fraud. It's a scam that's being used by people who say, well, they claim to be their family members, cousins, so and so, blah, blah, blah. But you're about to meet these people, meet these scammers who who deny everything, who just say they're the cousins or whatever, and then completely deny it. You'll also meet some victims of the scam, and you'll meet an attorney about this case. Here's Sam Donaldson.
We are told now the National Guard is on the way.
The fire reports are coming in something like 1 a minute.
The worst of it lasted for 48 hours. Arson, looting, assault. The Los Angeles riot of last April destroyed buildings, businesses, human dignity, and lives. But the misery isn't over. Services are reduced, unemployment is up, and the vultures are circling. Even while resources to rebuild remain scarce, come-on ads for easy money are everywhere.
Even with the equity we have in our home, the bank turned us down.
Now is the time. Easy financing available. 1-800-23.
This is regarding financing on your home. Give me a call on this.
Yes, there's easy money for the asking in South Central Los Angeles. All you have to be is a homeowner looking for a loan. Some of it is available from honest lenders who'll treat you right. But too often the easy money comes from dishonest lenders who will steal you blind.
I mean, this is America. Could you believe you can lose your home?
Robert Youngdahl is a deputy district attorney specializing in real estate fraud cases in Los Angeles County.
There is equity nowadays in everybody's home. You can have bought the home for $15,000 or $18,000, and there's a $200,000 home down. So with this kind of equity, the sharks are in, and they're going to catch you wherever they can and however they can.
The riots may have whetted the sharks' appetite, but Youngdahl says they've been swimming in South Central Los Angeles for years.
We
what did this room used to be before it was a shambles like this?
This used to be my bedroom. This was my closet. Well, it was a double closet. It's a walk-in closet where the children had one side and I had one side.
Last year, 46-year-old Betty Young, mother of 7, wanted to borrow some money to do a little remodeling and consolidate 2 existing mortgages. She got more than she bargained for. A church friend recommended this man, Tim Barnett, Chief Executive Officer of Funding 21 Mortgage Corporation. Barnett, in turn, brought Mrs. Young to this man, Barry Malcolm, President of Realty 2000 Mortgage Corporation. What Betty Young didn't know was that she was about to fall victim to a home equity fraud scam. Here's how it works. Home equity is the value of your home minus what you still owe on your mortgage. In Betty Young's case, her home was worth $150,000. Before she was scammed, she owed $75,000 on 2 home loans. That left her with $75,000 in equity. And stealing it only required Mrs. Young's signature on a deed of trust, where the fine print, not the verbal promises, controls. The deed is recorded at the county recorder's office. No one there examines it. And when homeowners like Betty Young default on the loan and the mortgage holder forecloses,
Marshal, open the door. We have a court order for your eviction.
county marshals will enforce an automatic court order for eviction. In Betty Young's case, Tim Barnett sold her on signing up with Malcolm for a $65,000 refinancing and remodeling loan. But she received only about $6,000 in cash. Some of Mrs. Young's existing indebtedness was paid off, but Malcolm took a whopping $9,750 commission from the proceeds, and Barnett took $10,000. He said to pay for remodeling work. May I just suggest to you that this wasn't a remodeling crew, this was a wrecking crew.
Well, be that as it may, this is what I had. And this is what I'm left with.
But the scam was just beginning. Why was Betty Young's home gutted? Because forcing her out of her home would make it more likely that she would default on the loan. Then Malcolm would have a claim on the house. And this, of course, was part of the wall.
Yes, that was part of the wall.
You see, today, Betty Young has to pay $1,100 a month rent to live elsewhere, on top of paying $866 a month interest on the loan. And she's trying to do that on her monthly take-home pay of about $900.
I cry at night. I cry. Because I can't do for my kids the things that need to be done. The lights and the gas, we're always running in the red. Actually, we robbed Peter to pay Paul.
We can give you a gross loan of at least $70,000.
We caught up with Barry Malcolm, the man who gave Mrs. Young the loan she can't repay and was ripped off many others in the LA area. 6 days earlier, Malcolm had been arrested and booked on false advertising charges, accused of improperly soliciting riot relief funds from Good Samaritans. Now, out on bail, he was back to his old tricks of trying to broker home loans, despite the lack of a license as required by California law. We confronted him about his activities. Okay, Malcolm?
All right.
I'm Sam Donaldson of Primetime Live.
Can you believe it? What is this regarding?
Well, do you have a broker's license for broker loan? It's our understanding you don't have a broker's license.
How you doing?
Mr. Malcolm? Very good to see you.
Let me shake your hand.
Very good to see you. But we think you're scamming these people and taking their home equity.
I'm not scamming anyone.
We asked Malcolm about the $10,000 fee he charged Betty Young. Your company didn't get $10,000 for brokering a
Our company
$65,000
did not
loan?
get $10,000. I mean, think about what you're saying. It's a $65,000 loan. Where do you justify $10,000?
Well, that's the question I have
Do
for
you
you.
have documents?
You bet. There are documents. The mortgage loan disclosure form for Betty Young shows that Barry Malcolm's firm received a commission of $9,750, plus inflated closing fees that brought his take well over $10,000. But that wasn't the only untruth Malcolm told us. Do you know Earlene Hanna on 66th Street?
No.
You've never met her?
Who?
Earlene Hanna. She's 73 years of age. She lives on 66th Street.
No, I've never met her.
Never seen her.
No, I couldn't recall if I have.
Didn't try to broker a loan with her.
You haven't seen me trying to broker a loan with anyone.
Oh, yeah? There you see Barry Malcolm, and the woman he's talking to is Earlene Hanna, shot by our hidden cameras 1 month earlier. And what is he saying to Mrs. Hanna?
We're equity lenders, so we don't have to qualify you based on your income and your credit and things like that.
By anyone's definition, including the laws, that is attempting to broker a loan. Malcolm left us wanting to know who had caught up with him.
And what channel do you represent?
We're with Primetime Live, sir. It's on ABC. It is a horrible crime to happen to anyone, having your home stolen right out from underneath you. But here in South Central Los Angeles, victims of home equity fraud are not just anyone. According to a study prepared for the state of California, they are predominantly black, elderly women who have no other resources. Victims like the woman who lives here, 89-year-old Georgia Allen.
One of the things, they were supposed to paint all the woodwork throughout the outside woodwork throughout the whole house, two-story place.
I don't think this has been painted in 30 years. Bill Flanagan is the attorney for Mrs. Allen.
The other thing they did was they put texture coat on the entire place.
This pink stuff.
Yes. They did this probably about 12 months ago, and the quality of it is really, really questionable.
Look here, it is peeling off. I mean, this is what they did a year ago?
Yes, ma'am.
Mrs. Allen paid money for this?
$75,000.
You are Mr. Azule?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was this man, Doran Azuli, of National Remodelers Incorporated, who took Georgia Allen. What Azuli did was con her into making him a joint owner of her home by telling her that was the only way she could get the loan. Then he obtained a $143,000 loan, which paid off some of Georgia Allen's debts, but also paid Azuli the unbelievable amount of $75,000 for the shoddy repair work. Now Mrs. Allen is in danger of losing her home.
There's two documents that we got from the lender. One says that Azule is her cousin. The second one says Azule is her grandson.
Is he related to her?
No, not at all. The signature that appears on there, in our opinion, is forged.
What would be the advantage to Azuli in passing himself off as her grandson?
If the two borrowers are related, there's less paperwork. That's what the lender told us. So by creating this relationship, it helped to move the loan quicker.
Georgia Allen was so ashamed of being conned by Doran Azuli that she refused even to let us have a picture of her. But Mrs. Allen need not be ashamed, for over the last 3 months, Primetime has found many victims of home equity fraud.
How can I help you this nice day today?
Our undercover cameras caught Doran Azuli as he worked his version of a home equity scam.
And I also very knowledgeable about financing situation.
We made 73-year-old Earlene Hanna, whom you saw earlier, a consultant to ABC News, and asked her to inquire about painting her home. Azuli offers a price of $3,800, more than twice what experts tell us it should cost. And he offers financing.
The interest is 19.5. There is a interest. You see, you borrow money, you need to pay interest. Okay?
19.5% interest is at least twice what any major bank would charge for a home improvement loan. But listen as Azuli baldly claims it actually adds up to only 10%.
How much is the interest? 19.5. It's about 10% a year.
And what if our homeowner misses a payment on the loan? No problem, says Azuli.
If you miss one payment, never mind, nothing happened, you see? This is excellent. Right?
Contrary to what Azuli has just said, something can happen. On the 3rd page of the contract, it clearly states that if even one payment is missed, the home could be sold. Azuli keeps that page out of sight.
3 weeks, you will see foundation, stucco, roofing, complete.
Later, at another of our undercover locations, we watched Azuli fill out a form he told our homeowner consultant was merely a job order for the construction of a new garage.
What I'm going to do right now, I'm going to fill up the order. Cash order for the work.
We copied this so-called order form and found it was actually a deed of trust that, once signed, would have given Azuli a claim on the house's equity. It was time to ask Doran Azuli some questions. I'm Sam Donaldson, the Primetime Live. How are you?
Okay, all right.
We were listening to you talk to Mr. Jackson.
Yeah.
And you told him this was an order form, but it does appear to be a deed of trust, isn't it?
It's an order form, but it say here that in case that you don't pay, you see, what we do here.
Yes, I understand, but this is a deed of trust. If he signs this form,
okay,
you now can take possession of his house.
Not right now. You see, only after I do the job and after the finance will be approved.
When Azuli spotted the cameras, his mood changed. And when we asked him about the woman he claimed as a grandmother, he ran. Do you know Georgia Allen?
No.
Well, you filed a document saying you were her grandson.
Sorry, I'm a lawyer. Speak to my lawyer.
Well, you said you were her cousin. Are you related to Georgia Allen?
Never.
Well, we have the document. You took $75,000 from her.
Speak to my lawyer. You know everything. It's not correct.
Scammers like Barry Malcolm and Doran Azuli know that Los Angeles County law enforcement has other things on its mind than home equity fraud. As a matter of fact, both the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office and the California Department of Real Estate have done little to chase these con artists. Deputy District Attorney Robert Youngdahl's reluctance to move aggressively was evident when we asked if he would prosecute unlicensed mortgage brokers.
We certainly were referred to the proper agency.
Well, you are the proper agency,
No, we're
I
not.
think.
We are not police officers.
Well, I'm going to read to you from a book which says it's the regulations of the state of California. It is the duty of the district attorney of each county in this state to prosecute all violations of this section.
That's right.
Well, it's your job.
That's exactly right.
Well, why aren't you doing it?
Well, did you ask the Department of Real Estate to bring the case over to us?
Well, we've turned over a number of cases to authorities, and I can't tell you specifically in Los Angeles.
Clark Wallace is the California Commissioner of Real Estate. He says his department will receive about 10,000 complaints this year. And what will happen to them?
We cannot respond as quickly as we need to respond. And of course, justice delayed is justice denied.
I mean, one less minority loses a house. I mean, who's going to care?
Carlton Jenkins is the managing director of the only black-owned bank in the state of California, Founders National Bank, located directly in south central Los Angeles. Jenkins says other banks who refuse to lend in this area are driving homeowners into the arms of the scam artists. Would you loan money on their house?
98% of the lending that we do is in communities just like this. We have found it to be viable, profitable. I mean, I grew up in this house. I would lend money on this house tomorrow.
But not even Jenkins can help Betty Young, who's struggling to hang on. She's taken on a second job and hopes she can make some repairs before Los Angeles County moves to demolish her home on the grounds that it is now a health hazard. Incredibly, even if her home is bulldozed, Betty Young will still owe $65,000 on the home equity loan that she was conned into signing.
How can you protect yourself from home equity fraud or scams? We'll give the answer when we return. Stay with us. We've just seen some examples of home equity fraud. It's a scam that's used by a lot of people in Los Angeles, and they're not doing anything enough. So, as a consumer, what can you do to protect yourself from home equity fraud? First, be aware of any lender who requests phishing information from you, such as fabricating facts about your property, mortgage status, loan history, or insisting that you pull out equity in your home to settle debt incurred through missed mortgage payments. Examine your credit reports to check if there are any incorrect information to lower your chance of HELOC fraud. Check your statements frequently if you have a HELOC. You can't be able to avoid real estate scams because scammers frequently use advanced technology and interact digitally with their victims. However, it's critical to protect your personal information and bank accounts. There are some strategies that can help out. One is consult a qualified professional. Work only with reputable licensed and real estate agents and lenders. If somebody contacts you out of the blue, make sure they are who they claim to be. And always ask them if they have a license. Protect your personal information. Never provide anyone with your personal or financial information if you don't trust them. Don't send financial information via email or website links. Avoid paying any upfront fees. Never pay for a service to your home in advance, especially if the person appears to be pursuing you. Keep an eye out for last-minute changes. If you're in the process of purchasing a home and learn a last-minute change, take the time to confirm that it's true. Don't behave rationally or emotionally. And finally, no matter how good the deal it is, it's never a good idea to engage off-market transactions. If you believe you've been a victim of a real estate scam, you should notify the appropriate authorities. Make contact with your mortgage service provider, inform your local law enforcement agency about the real estate scam, and file a complaint with the FTC. And you might be asking, should I contact an attorney if I'm a victim of home equity fraud? Of course you can. If you're involved in a home equity loan dispute that requires filing a lawsuit, you should consult with an experienced local mortgage lawyer. An attorney can help you understand your legal rights and opinions under the laws of your state, as well as review all documentation before you sign it. If necessary, your real estate attorney will be able to represent you in court. You don't have to fight home equity dispute by yourself. Just find an attorney right for you. That way, you may get your money. Sorry. And you won't be a victim of the scam again. Okay. Coming up next, our final report. This time it's all about the crazy checks. Kids receiving these Social Security checks for behavior that's just unacceptable. Even teachers are saying they don't even need it. Stay with us. Finally tonight, a story about special children. No, we're not talking about special needs. We're talking about SSI, Social Security income. Lots of kids are on it because of disabilities like autism. Autism just to name one. But what you're about to see is loopholes and Supreme Court rulings that took out the definition of disability. By acting crazy, you could receive a check for over $100. How is it done? Here's Chris Wallace.
1, 2, 3. Good girl.
It's no exaggeration to say that without SSI, the Trout family of Philadelphia would have fallen apart. 10-year-old Sarah Trout has cerebral palsy and is severely retarded. Her mother Susie says, even though the government pays for medical expenses, that still isn't enough.
Without SSI coming into our lives, we would have been homeless. And because I would never have allowed that to happen, I would have put Sarah into an institution.
The SSI program for children has helped many poor families like the Trouts deal with the financial burdens of a serious disability. But a 3-month primetime investigation has found a government program gone haywire.
Social Security, can I help you?
Guidelines are so vague and oversight so lax that even normal children can qualify for benefits, sometimes after being coached by their parents, who spend the money on anything they want, even liquor and gambling.
It's an open invitation to fraud.
Dr. Nora Cook Porter is a pediatrician and lawyer who used to review applications for some of the hundreds of thousands of children who have gotten on SSI.
Of those hundreds of thousands of kids who are labeled disabled, what percentage do you think really are?
I would say probably fewer than 30%.
Really?
Yes.
If Porter's estimates are anywhere near accurate, then SSI, started with the best of intentions, has become a massive taxpayer-funded scam. Since 1990, the number of children in the program has soared to 750,000. The current cost, more than $5 billion a year. Nowhere in the country is this program growing faster than in Arkansas, where, in the last 4 years, the number of children on SSI has almost tripled to more than 17,000, costing the taxpayers $70 million a year. Here in East Arkansas, the poorest part of the state, people who once had nothing now have homes, cars, big screen TVs, even satellite dishes. Widener, Arkansas, population 316, is a sleepy town. But come the first of every month, the local post office is bustling.
Do the checks always come in promptly?
Uh-huh.
Irene Brown is an unemployed single mother with a big family. All but one of her children gets an SSI disability check.
Now, how many SSI checks have you got here?
1,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4,
and 6.
What's that add up to, do you know?
I don't know now. I ain't never took the time to add it up.
When you add them up, those 6 checks come to almost $2,700 a month. That's more than $32,000 a year, all tax-free. And Brown is not alone. People stream into the post office all day to pick up their government checks. The fact is, the leading growth industry in Arkansas is not manufacturing or farming, it's SSI. Eurene Brown says the man at the Social Security office didn't seem concerned about her having 6 kids getting disability checks.
He said, I don't care if you got 10. If they're eligible for it, we're going to give it to them.
So how do you explain the government so anxious to give you all this money?
I don't know. I can't explain it. I don't know, I don't know.
Do you know where you rank in this area? Making $32,000 a year?
I sure know.
Eurene, you're well-to-do.
For real?
In fact, the average income for this part of the state is $13,000, just about a third of what Brown gets from SSI. With that money, she pays her bills and buys clothes for her children. She bought a car, even TVs, and now she's buying a house. And under SSI rules, as long as it somehow benefits the child, it's all legal. Is it okay to buy a car using SSI money?
There are circumstances where it would clearly be okay. We would all agree to that.
Larry Thompson runs the SSI program for the Social Security Administration in Washington. Is it okay to buy a TV using SSI money?
Well, I think it would depend on the circumstances, but I wouldn't necessarily say no. Would you deprive, just because somebody's on SSI, they can have a television set?
This is a program for children with disabilities. How much of the money has to be spent to treat their disabilities?
So there are no requirements at the current time as to whether money has to be spent on training or therapy.
You can buy video games. You can go to Florida. You can buy a trailer. You can buy a Mercedes. You can do anything you want with this money.
You sure can. We found that some of the SSI checks from Arkansas end up across the river to be used to gamble in Mississippi. This casino employee says lots of people show up with disability money, cash their SSI check at the first of the month, and gamble it all away.
They absolutely said we lost our whole check, like my whole child's check.
$400 or $500.
Right, we lose it.
Blow it the first night.
That's right.
Gambling isn't the only place the money goes. Roy Mutcherson has 2 daughters on SSI. Joyce is 13, Tammy 15. He says the $850 he gets each month for them keeps the family going.
They got to have a roof over their head. They had to have new clothes, new shoes, stuff like that.
But others say the 2 girls don't see much of the money. If he's not spending the money on his 2 daughters, what is he spending the money on?
Usually on junk or alcohol. This family seems to drink it up largely.
This government worker who doesn't want to be identified knows the Mutcherson case well.
Beyond the first of the month, there's nothing to eat in the household. The children go hungry. They have to get food from other sources.
A lot of people here are telling us that you're not spending the money on the kids, you're spending it on liquor for yourself.
A lot of people lying, but it's not true. It is not true.
They say that you have to go to the church or to neighbors to get food and to get clothes.
Well, tell them these are damn right. Tell them I said it. And if they don't like it, they can go to hell.
Why doesn't the Social Security Administration crack down on parents who are ripping off SSI? It turns out the main way the government checks on how the money is being spent is by looking at annual reports filed by the parents themselves. If they file the appropriate form with you, you don't have a way of knowing, do you?
Well, there's a good chance that we won't find out unless the social services people find out there's something wrong with that in that household, or unless somebody lets us know.
Beyond the question of how the money is being spent is an even more basic one. Are all these kids really disabled? Following a 1990 Supreme Court ruling, the government broadened the definition of disability from severe mental and physical problems to include behavior, which is not, quote, age appropriate. And that opened the floodgates. Now, children who get bad grades or fight with classmates can be rewarded with what are known as crazy checks. Act crazy, and you can get a check of more than $400 a month from the government. Eurene Brown's daughter, Lakeitha, is 13. Her mother says she has mental problems.
I don't care if they call me crazy or what they say, as long as I get some money enough to get whatever I want, I ain't worried about what people say.
Lakeitha
She's doing great in school.
I know she's doing great.
A's and B's.
Mm-hmm.
So what's her problem?
She rocks and cries a lot. And then when people come around, she acts like a whole different person.
As a health professional, are those children disabled?
No. The 3 I saw and examined and talked to were not.
Dr. Linda Collins gave the Brown children routine physicals after they'd already been judged disabled by doctors and teachers. She says they should not have been approved for SSI. Over the years, Collins says she's even seen kids who have been coached by parents to get disability checks.
As long as his mind is on doing what mom said do, he's going to do it. But when something else gets his attention, he stops doing it.
And they start acting normal.
And start acting normal, like a normal kid.
In a study of local educators last year by Arkansas State University, 81% said children who applied for SSI made comments that they have been told to misbehave to get disability payments.
The majority of the students who are receiving it do not need it.
Suzanne Parkman, who teaches English, says some families on SSI make more money than she does.
In the SSI program, I see many students who see that as a salary, as a paycheck, just as I receive my paycheck in the classroom for doing the job that I've been hired to do.
The Social Security Administration says the fraud problem is overstated. An internal review of 617 cases last May found only 13 involved possible coaching. The report concluded, in general, correct decisions were reached. But don't tell Dr. Porter about correct decisions. In her 2 years reviewing SSI applications, she saw all kinds of youngsters with disruptive behavior certified as disabled.
I had a child who had carried a .45 automatic, had assaulted a teacher. There were others who had refused to surrender a pager, had engaged in auto theft, burglary, trespass, you name it.
But where's the disability?
Don't ask me.
Porter says the focus of the SSI program is to give kids disability checks. She turned down thousands of applications, but was often overruled. And finally, after one case too many, she was fired.
If you think you've seen it all by now, just wait. After the Supreme Court decision broadened the definition of disability, the government started giving lump sum back payments to more than 130,000 children who'd previously been rejected. The payments average $15,000. Some have been as high as $70,000. And since SSI is only for poor people, the government says families must spend all of their money within 6 months, or else exceed the income limits for the program.
James Walton received a lump sum of more than $10,000. His mother used the money to buy a double-wide trailer for her family. The only problem, when she got the check, James was an inmate at the state penitentiary, serving time for auto theft.
The way the system's set up is not rational.
Arkansas State Representative Pat Flanagan is an outspoken critic of what he calls SSI-subsidized juvenile delinquents.
Mrs. Walton gets a retroactive check that she uses to buy a new double-wide mobile home.
Yes.
Well, he's in the state prison?
That's the way it works. Or let's say that's the way it doesn't work.
Does that make any sense to you, giving these big lump sum payments?
Well, how big is big?
$60,000, $70,000?
No, it doesn't make all that sense to me.
But your agency has done that.
The implication is that my agency would only do something that made sense to me. And I think that...
Is that not true?
No, my agency executes the statute as the Congress writes it and the courts interpret it.
Perhaps the biggest problem with SSI, though, isn't what it does to the taxpayers, but what it does to the children it's supposed to help.
We now have children lining up to be called mentally retarded and crazy. Please, label me as this. There is no need to do anything, to become anything, to achieve anything, to go and seek anything, nothing. You just simply get declared disabled and the government will mail you a check every month.
And even if your disability is cured, chances are you will stay on SSI for life, at a cost to taxpayers of more than $300,000.
In your 2 years in the program, how many children did you see removed from the SSI rolls?
None.
For Eurene Brown, the idea never seems to have crossed her mind.
Eurene, are you trying to get your kids off SSI?
No. I ain't trying to get them off.
SSI Administrator Larry Thompson seems equally mystified.
How do you remove children from SSI?
How do we remove them?
Yeah.
Well, up until just recently, there were very few reviews done of disability and SSI. Now, we have started to look systematically at a sample of these kids.
When did you start?
We're just starting.
For now, SSI continues to be a way of life for Eurene Brown's children and others like them across the country. As long as the government allows it, parents say they'd be crazy not to take advantage of SSI.
Why should taxpayers who work hard for their money be paying your family $30,000 a year?
Well, if I was in their shoes, I probably would say something too, but I've grown with the program. So that's why I call it the best, because it come out of the blue. It just come out of the blue.
Come out of the blue. We'll be right back. Okay, common sense alert. You want money? Act crazy. Here's $400. You ain't crazy. You must be in school. Here's $400. You bought a gun? Here's $400. You did this? Okay, here's $400. Here's this. Come on already. SSI is for disabled children and poor people. What are you doing freaking giving $400 to people who are freaking misbehaving, stealing pagers, acting up in class, starting fights? What the hell is wrong with this country where people think it's cool to line up for $400? That's like grandmothers pulling crackers out of under their bra to give to kids as a snack. Come here, kids. Grandmommy got a treat for you. Eat it. Stop crying. Shut up crying. Eat the cracker. Here's your grandmammy. Here's your grandpappy. Eat the cracker. Here's your grandpappy. It's safe. You get the picture here? There's your common sense, and that's Give Me a Break for this Saturday going to Sunday. Coming up on Monday, the mosquito repellents. It's the DEET issue. How safe are these insect repellents? We're going to tell you. We'll see you again on Monday. If I want to hear YouTube, don't act all crazy and get a check for $400. Otherwise, I'll take that check and throw it in a river. Or even better yet, I'll burn that sucker in a bonfire. I'll take that check and put it in that bonfire. That's where it's going to go. In that freaking bonfire. It'd be fun to watch. I'm going to call it SSBF. Social Security Bonfire. Have a good night, everyone.